The sun was just setting over the mosque. People were leaving after prayer. But then it happened. "You idiot! How dare you stand here?" The calm shattered. A man in a bright red and gold robe stormed out, yelling in anger. His voice echoed off the mosque walls. People stopped walking, heads turned. He pointed, his face full of rage. The target? A man standing quietly in the middle of the courtyard. He looked calm, even relaxed. He wore a simple blue t-shirt and jeans. Around his neck, a silver cross rested over his chest. He held a Bible in his hands. The angry man walked right up to him. "You speak lies in front of the house of Allah. This is sacred ground." The Christian didn't yell back. He didn't even look afraid. He just watched. Quiet, peaceful, like he had seen this before. Some people in the crowd started filming with their phones. Others whispered to each other. A few moved closer. Something was about to happen, and they all knew it. The Christian slowly stepped forward. He looked straight into the angry man's eyes. Then he asked calmly, "Are you afraid of what's inside this book?" He gently lifted the Bible in his right hand. The crowd went quiet. The man in the robe looked confused. His anger didn't fade, but something had changed. "You bring that here?" he said sharply. "Do you even know where you are?" The Christian glanced up at the mosque, then back at the man. "I know exactly where I am," he said. Now, everyone else knew too. And that's where it all started. The crowd didn't know it yet. But this wasn't just a random argument. This moment had been building for years. Let's start with the Christian. His name? Eli Mitchell, mid-30s. Grew up in a broken home in Arkansas. Spent most of his early life angry at God, at religion, at the world. He didn't believe in anything. Called himself a free thinker. Mocked Christians. Laughed at churches. But everything changed one night in college. Alone in his dorm room, he opened a Bible just to make fun of it. But what he found wasn't weakness. It wasn't fairy tales. It was something different. Truth that cut through his pride. Words that knew him. That night, he gave his life to Jesus, and he never looked back. Eli didn't become a preacher in a pulpit. He became something else, a street apologist. A man who went into the darkest places, toughest corners, and shared the gospel face to face. Not with anger, not with shouting, but with bold truth and deep peace. And that's why he was in front of that mosque that day. Not to fight, but to offer something better. Now the other man, the one shouting, his name was Imam Yusuf al-Khazri, a well-known guest speaker, traveled the world teaching Islam. Not just any preacher, he was famous in certain circles for exposing Christianity. He mocked the Bible, called Jesus just a prophet, claimed Christians had changed their book. He had just finished a 2-hour sermon titled, "The Bible is broken, the truth is in the Quran." The crowd that heard him was fired up. They were told Christianity was finished, weak, false. They were ready to believe it. But then, right outside the door, Eli showed up with a Bible in one hand and in the other, the Quran, marked, tabbed, highlighted. He wasn't guessing. He had come prepared. That's what set Yusuf off. This wasn't just some random tourist. This was a man who knew what he was doing. A man who had come not to argue, but to challenge the foundation of the sermon. And the crowd could sense it. Yusuf had debated atheists, liberals, even confused Christians. But this was different. This man wasn't unsure. He wasn't nervous. He came with both books and truth on his tongue. Now, the scene made more sense. This wasn't a street preacher being loud. This was a man trying to stop the truth from being heard. And Eli? He was just getting started, not knowing what would happen next. "You quote lies," Imam Yusuf spat. "You twist our book. You're a deceiver." People were watching from every direction now. Some leaned on pillars, others stood with arms crossed. Phones were up, cameras rolling. But Eli didn't flinch. He looked Yusuf in the eye and spoke softly, clearly. "Then let's open it. Your book. Let's read it. Together." Yusuf sneered. "You think you understand the Quran better than a Muslim?" Eli didn't answer the insult. He simply opened the Quran he had brought, the same one Yusuf used, and turned to a tabbed page. Surah 1094. He read it out loud, slowly. "So, if you are in doubt, O Muhammad, about that which we have revealed to you, then ask those who have been reading the scripture before you." The crowd went still. You could hear wind moving dust. Eli paused, then asked, "Why would your book tell Muhammad to ask the people of the book, that is, Jews and Christians, if he had questions about the truth, if our book was corrupted?" Yusuf blinked. That verse was in every Arabic Quran, word for word. He tried to respond, but Eli cut in gently. "The tafsir confirms it." Yusuf's voice rose. "This is a trap, tricks of the enemy." But the crowd wasn't convinced. Eli closed the book gently. "If I'm twisting your words, then show me where. I'm reading from your sources, not mine." Yusuf shook his head. "You come here pretending to be peaceful, but you're here to mock." That's when Eli stepped forward, just one step. He looked straight at the imam, but spoke to the crowd. "I'm not here to mock. I'm here because someone once did this for me. When I hated Christians, when I mocked the Bible, someone calmly showed me the truth. It didn't humiliate me. It freed me." The silence in the courtyard shifted. The tension changed from anger to curiosity. One woman whispered to her daughter. A man near the back lowered his phone. Another older man crossed his arms tighter, defensive, but listening. Yusuf tried again, louder this time. "Our Quran is clear. Jesus was only a prophet. He did not die. He was not God." Eli nodded, like he was ready for that one. Then he opened the Bible, and read from John 10:30. "I and the Father are one." Then Isaiah 9:6. "And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." He looked up. Over 600 years before Muhammad, Isaiah prophesied a child would be born, called Mighty God. Who else but Jesus? Yusuf raised a hand. "That's blasphemy." But someone in the crowd said quietly, "He's quoting from the book. He's not making it up." Eli turned to the imam, calm, steady. "You said I twist words, but every word I've spoken came from your book or mine. The truth is simple. Either Jesus is who he said he is, or he's not." He paused. "But if he is, and he is, then the only thing left to do is follow him." And right there, under the shadow of the mosque, with both books closed in his hands, Eli stood not as a man trying to win an argument, but as a man trying to win souls. But that wasn't all. Eli wasn't done yet. Eli didn't come to win with words. He came to reveal something. He took a slow breath and pulled out the Quran. Small, worn, full of sticky notes and highlights. He held it out. "This is yours," he said to Yusuf. "Same edition, same publisher." Yusuf snatched it from his hand, flipping the pages roughly, like trying to prove it was fake. But the paper felt real. The text looked untouched. He stopped at a tabbed section. His eyes fell on Surah 4:157, and he froze. Eli didn't need to say it. He let Yusuf read it for himself. "They did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but it was made to appear so to them." Yusuf looked up, his voice shaky. "See? That proves your Jesus wasn't crucified. But Eli shook his head slowly. Keep reading, keep thinking. He opened a small booklet, a comparative study of early Islamic commentaries. He read a footnote. Some classical scholars, including al-Tabari, admitted that early Muslims disagreed on who was crucified in Jesus' place, meaning they weren't sure what actually happened. Then he read another quote from al-Razi, another trusted Islamic scholar. The verse is one of the most confusing in the Quran, and its true meaning is known only to Allah. The crowd stiffened. This wasn't an outsider's lie. These were their own scholars admitting that this key verse, the very denial of the crucifixion, was unclear. But if it was unclear, then maybe it was wrong. Someone whispered, "Wait. If they're not sure, how can we be?" Yusuf's face was losing its fire. His eyes darted across the page, then to Eli, then to the crowd. His voice cracked slightly. These are old arguments, long settled. But he didn't sound sure anymore. Eli said gently, "Not settled, just avoided." But then, a book translated hadiths of Sahih Muslim. He flipped to a section titled, "The Return of Jesus," read it out loud. "Jesus, son of Mary, will descend. He will break the cross and kill the pig and rule with justice." Eli looked up. Why would your hadith say Jesus is coming back to judge the world if he was just a prophet who never died? Silence. Long, thick, honest. Eli turned to the crowd, his voice steady. "I'm not attacking Islam. I'm pointing to the cracks, the ones your own scholars have tried to plaster over. You were told we believe a lie. But if Jesus never died, why is Islam the only religion that says so? History confirms it. Even the Quran stumbles over it." Yusuf clutched the book, but he said nothing. He couldn't. Because what was happening wasn't a debate anymore. At first, the silence felt like control. Yusuf stood tall, book in hand, eyes scanning the crowd. He thought he had them. But then, it shifted. Not loud, not obvious. Just small movements, quiet reactions. One man at the edge slowly lowered his phone. His brow furrowed. He wasn't filming anymore. He was processing. A teen in a soccer jersey turned to his older brother. "Why didn't they teach us this in madrasa?" The brother didn't answer. A middle-aged woman adjusted her hijab, eyes fixed on Eli. Not with anger, but something softer, like respect. Yusuf saw it, all of it, and it rattled him. "Brothers," he said loudly, trying to take back the moment. "This man is twisting what he reads. He hides context. He plants doubt." But no one moved. No one cheered, not even a nod. Because something strange was happening. People weren't just watching a debate. They were watching truth land like a hammer. Eli didn't boast. He didn't gloat. He just let the weight of silence speak. The man in the second row said softly, "But he read from our books." Another whispered, "That's Ibn Kathir. It's not a Christian source." And then the moment came. A woman, early 20s, scarf slipping from her hair, raised her voice just enough. "If the Quran tells Muhammad to ask Christians for the truth, why are we calling them liars now?" That question, it cracked the wall wide open. Yusuf took a step back. He was losing control, not just of the argument, but of the crowd's loyalty. He tried one last jab. "This is how they confuse the weak. They come like lambs, but are wolves." But Eli finally spoke, and what he said changed the temperature in the air. "You call me a wolf, but what kind of wolf reads your own book in front of you, with your own scholars, and asks you to think?" No answer. Not from Yusuf, not from anyone. A boy near the front, maybe 16, looked down at his Quran, still open to Surah 1094, still glowing with questions. He didn't say a word, but his face said it all. Eli didn't smile. This wasn't victory. He stepped forward just a little, then held up the Bible again. "This book doesn't come to destroy you," he said softly. "It comes to save you." His voice was steady, kind, almost fatherly. He paused, let it sink in. Then, the gospel, 10 seconds flat. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, took your sin, died on the cross, and rose from the dead, not to control you, but to forgive you and set you free. Silence, but not empty silence, sacred silence. The kind that stings the eyes, makes the throat tight. Yusuf didn't speak. He couldn't, because suddenly, in front of a crowd that once feared him, he looked like a man with nothing left to say. Yusuf didn't move. He stood stiff, the Quran still clutched in one hand, his fingers curled like claws around the spine. But his eyes weren't burning anymore. They were confused, searching. He looked down at the verses Eli read, then up again, then down, and slowly, almost like it hurt, he handed the Quran back. Not thrown, not dropped, but placed. Gently. Eli took it, nodded once, and said quietly, "Thank you." Yusuf stepped back, turned slightly, not toward the mosque entrance, but toward the exit gate, toward the road, toward anywhere but here. He didn't say a word, but the silence spoke for him. He came to expose the Christian, but left exposed himself. The crowd stayed. They didn't follow him. No one rushed after him. No one applauded his departure. He left like a man who realized something didn't add up. But Eli? He didn't shout victory. He didn't gloat or wave his Bible in the air. He just stood still, quiet, gentle, present. One young man approached him, shaky voice. "Can I ask, why would God want to forgive someone like me?" Eli looked him in the eye and said the same thing someone once told him. "Because he's not like you. He's holy, and he's love." People lingered. No arguments now. No shouting. Just questions. Curiosity. Cracks in the wall. And that was the victory. Not conversion, not applause, not headlines. A seed, planted in a courtyard where truth had been shouted down for years. Now it whispered. And people leaned in to hear it.